Broadcast Center. Colin Kane with the Peregrine Group, I believe, is around the corner, and here he is.
Hi, Kate. How are you?
I'm doing well.
It's great
How
to
are
see
you?
Terrific. Thanks.
Nice to see you. Just saw you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me here. Really appreciate
Well, I wanted to have you in after the event in Pawtucket that had taken place yesterday. I'm going to bring you just a little closer together and looking at the camera here. The event that had taken place in Pawtucket, headlined by Jan Brody and Mayor Gravian, talking about downtown development in Pawtucket, of which your Division Street property was one of the items discussed, and we've covered it quite extensively. So maybe you might want to give us a little soup to nuts as to how you got involved at the get-go and what it's going to take to move the project forward.
Well, we were thrilled to be invited yesterday, or Monday, I guess it was.
Oh, yes.
The Pawtucket Foundation and the city sponsored sort of a coalition of business, civic, and government leaders to talk about what's going on in Pawtucket 2020, sort of outlining a vision of what could happen, and I think to celebrate a lot of things that have happened or are happening. We got involved in Pawtucket a couple of years ago when we were asked to help pet food experts relocate their corporate headquarters to a building right across the street from Slater Mill. It came out spectacularly well. We had an opportunity to work with the mayor and his team, city council, and now it's the world headquarters for the third largest pet food distributor in the country, and really, really cool space. As a result of that project and sort of many intersections with the city, as you know, our office is in Rumford, which is a nice way to say East Providence, which is another great city. We were very impressed by the competence of city leadership. When you look and walk around the city, the bones of greatness exist. A riverfront that is spectacular, a history that's unrivaled relative to the Industrial Revolution, great access by the highway, which will be improved by the train station. So we really have been keeping our eye on Pawtucket for quite some time. My Irish ancestors left Ireland because of this weather and moved to Pawtucket a very long time ago, so a big fan of Pawtucket.
Get back to this weather.
But the city put an RFP out on an approximately 10-acre site that is located on they call it the Pawtucket River. We often call it the Seekonk River. But we were selected as the preferred developer and have been working with the city as well as the professionals at Commerce Rhode Island to try to develop the site.
But what's going to move it forward? Last we had mentioned to you were looking for some tools from the Commerce Corporation. And where are you in that process?
Well, we've had many active conversations with the state. They've been very supportive of what we're trying to do, what's happening in Pawtucket. The truth of the matter is in Pawtucket or in any secondary or tertiary New England city, unfortunately the mathematics of building new projects, whether it's office, hotel, multifamily housing, is not supported by our marketplace. So it needs what we call gap fillers. Let's call it what they are. They're subsidies or incentives. I know Go Local has its own opinion about such things, but it's very, very difficult to make the math work. The governor put in her budget a very strong toolkit to help fill that gap and make projects economically viable. And I think you're seeing that in some of the progress downtown. And the city is obviously an active participant in helping fill that gap. We haven't filled the gap yet. I mean, we're still working on that.
And what's the price tag on the gap?
You know, I would say it really depends on the product type and the site itself. The Division Street site's a tough site.
Yes.
You know, it slopes down, it starts at 60 feet and it goes down to 0 on the river. As a result, it's really cool because the views are really great. It would be a great place to work, a great place to live, and a great place to shop. But it's a pretty expensive site package. So when you look, it really depends on the use and the peculiarities of the site and the building. But generally that gap is anywhere from 20 to 40% of the project cost. Fairly substantial. And I would say, Kate, that gap would be true in Worcester. It would be true in Portland. It would be harder in Springfield, harder perhaps in Fall River. So it's not unique to Rhode Island by any stretch. As you know, I think we are working in Boston. We come out of the ground in May with our third ground-up construction project, a 64-unit apartment project in Dorchester. And even in Boston, with higher rents, same cost of construction, and lower property taxes, the math is pretty challenging.
And so you were there again at Slater Mill with renderings of a vision of what that Division Street property would look like. How wedded are you to those renderings and the idea of the project? Is it malleable? If the state says we can only afford to do X, does that change the scope of the project? What's the position you're currently in terms of how that definitively looks?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. We want something that works economically. Unfortunately, we don't do this as a hobby.
This is a business.
And we don't get rich doing it. Rhode Island real estate developer, generally not the richest cat in the country. What we proposed to the city, we knew was not economically viable when we submitted it. And what we proposed, we knew had challenges, but we thought was the highest and best use for the property, meaning that it had significant density. It fulfilled the city's objectives relative to activating the riverfront, making it a place to live and work in the downtown area. So the easiest thing to do would be to slap a CVS in the corner, surround it with surface parking. But wow, what a waste of a waterfront view and this great city. So it is malleable, but I think we still hope to achieve the highest and best use for the property.
Speaking of highest and best use for properties, the ownership of the Pawtucket Red Sox was at Slater Mill talking, listening, I think, more than anything. Chair Larry Lucchino did indicate that, they're looking at the Apex property, other waterfront property. What do you envision? What do you see as the best potential for the Paw Sox as it appears that they are not wedded to McCoy?
Well, yeah, I've only scanned the feasibility report for McCoy. Whether it's wrong by 10% or 20%, it's expensive and probably not worth repairing McCoy. I think both sites, the Tidewater site, which is directly across the river from the Division Street site that we control, also a beautiful site, and the Apex site offer extraordinary opportunity to put a ballpark that not only is a place to play baseball, but can potentially catalyze development around it. I was not a proponent of the 195 downtown Providence location. As you know, I worked.
Full disclosure.
Full disclosure, I was the chairman of the commission. My opposition wasn't public. We never had that opportunity. But that opposition was not related to playing baseball. It wasn't related to the use. It was related to the location. And the physical infeasibility of putting a ballpark on that particular open space.
Was that just from logistic-wise?
Yeah, you can only put. It's hard to put 10 pounds in a 5-pound sack, and it just.
Because you know that space well. You have been on the commission. You know the plot of land. You know the again logistical from infrastructure.
We spent 4 years getting the sewer in there, getting that park planned, and really making that the storm scepter for the entire area. I thought I'd be buried there, quite frankly. I still might be, but I'd rather be buried in Pawtucket at this point.
Is that your bumper sticker?
Bury me in Pawtucket.
I'd rather be buried in Pawtucket.
But put a few ashes in Newport. That site really had a lot of challenges. It's just a ballpark has a certain footprint, and all the engineering related to that just didn't work at 195. I also thought it didn't work there because Providence, that area in Providence, doesn't need to be catalyzed. We can walk around downtown today. I think the waterfront could be better, but we said we have a restaurant culture, we have an office experience, we have a hospitality tradition with more coming out of the ground. That's not quite true in Pawtucket, and I think that either site, both somewhat different, have that opportunity to reignite the next, I won't call it the industrial revolution, I'll call it the next renaissance or evolution of Pawtucket.
Okay. And one of the things that Lucchino had mentioned and has been reported, and we had picked up on in a speech, talked about public financing. Do you think that will, we know last time there was a lot of opposition to the amount of taxpayer support, but now he's talking...
You mean 100%? You mean that you mean pay us for our own ballpark?
Well, what do you
think
think about this go-around if he's talking about public financing for, is it just... do you envision there to be a lot of opposition like there was last time?
Yeah, listen, everyone's going to have an opinion about the use of scarce public resources. That is a public policy decision left to people far above my pay grade. But I think that decision around those, the application of those public resources, it's the same discussion we have around, do we help Colin Kane build on Division Street? Because we have to fill a gap. Mm-hmm. Do we help Wexford build a 195 because they have a gap? Do we build a garage downtown because the private marketplace doesn't support public parking, structured parking. Do we invest in a train station or a ballpark? I think personally, and I'm not a profound baseball fan, I'm kind of slow, but I do think that we have to continue to invest in public infrastructure, and I view a ballpark like I view a train station, the convention center, probably a loss leader, but a worthwhile investment of public dollars if managed correctly.
Well, we're going to continue to keep an eye on that. We had Dr. Charles Steinberg in last Friday. He talked to them just more about the Paw Sox perspective and what's coming on in the upcoming season. He didn't really want to talk too much about plans that they might have.
My sense is, and just watching them in the city, because our site is so close to both of those sites, I've been very impressed by the thoughtful approach that the team has taken. I think that they're trying to understand physical constraints, permitting constraints, buildability questions, getting the support of the community and the city before painting a picture in the top fold of the Providence Journal.
Putting a pretty little rendering.
Yeah, renderings aren't projects. Rendering costs about $4,000. The hard work costs several million.
So I did want to talk with you. You've got other projects going on as well. Wanted to talk with what else? You talked about Boston, but what else is on your plate here in Rhode Island?
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, we have a profound level of confidence in Rhode Island. My daughter's name is Hope. I did grow up here. I told you class of '84. Right now, a couple of years ago, as you know, we bought the Newport Yachting Center, the mooring restaurant, the bowling and the smokehouse, and the marina. Newport has been a spectacular place to do business. It's a spectacular place, so that doesn't hurt. But it's also been a great working relationship with that city and our neighbors in Newport. Last winter, we did a significant improvement to the banquet facility, the bowling, as well as to our marina, and we hope to continue that incremental improvement, actually dramatic improvement, in the parking lots that face America's Cup. So we will be going public with our plans on May 1st.
Okay. Here on Go Local.
Here on Go Local.
Go figure.
We filed our application for informational session with the Newport Planning Board. We hope to be heard on May 1st.
Okay.
We have been meeting with our neighbors, with the appropriate, there's many community groups and stakeholders in Newport with deservedly strong opinions and active engagement in their community. So we've tried to meet with as many folks as we can, but we anticipate a long and hopefully fruitful dialogue there.
And this is primarily addressing parking lot issue from the land that you have.
Yeah, we'd like to build on that parking lot. We'd like to make it look a lot prettier. We can't eliminate parking anywhere.
In Newport, no.
No, you can't. It's an important parking resource, not only for ourselves, but also for the merchants right downtown, especially in the wintertime. People don't want to walk. But boy, today people don't want to walk to 22 Bowen or to the Black Pearl or to the Cookhouse or to the mooring if they have to walk more than 2 blocks. But we're very excited about Newport. It's just a true privilege to own that property and have great partners. We're building in Rumford. We developed in 2009 a 200,000 square foot 9-building mixed-use complex called Rumford Center. I think people know it better as the place with 7 stars and Avenue N. Our office is there as well. But another great city, East Providence, great neighbors. So we are vertical now with 80 more apartments, which will bring our total to nearly 200 and about 35,000 square feet of commercial and retail. So we're very excited. It's been a great project. But that project, as an example, it required a gap filler. That project only exists because the federal government and the state of Rhode Island at the time had a historic tax credit that provided that effective 30% gap filler or subsidy to make it work. But Boston, we're building in Tiverton. If you've ever been to the Boathouse restaurant, you can see the affinity for waterfront property here.
Wait a minute, it's a common theme, Colin Kane.
You might say properties near bars. That might be another common theme. But we bought the balance. There was an unfinished project, the Villages at Mount Hope Bay. We bought the balance of that unfinished project from Starwood a couple of years ago, and now we're building residential condominiums there. Another great community, great neighborhood, and we're excited about it. We're moving product.
How many units are you? How many exist? I'm familiar with the area, so how many are you adding to this?
There were 164 built and sold in 2009. The hammers went down and the world stopped. We restarted that 2 years ago, and we have 66 to complete. Which will complete the neighborhood.
And they look identical to the existing ones?
No, we upgraded them.
No, we didn't make 2008 properties.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Design and taste changed somewhat. Not necessarily exterior, but taste in residential living changed dramatically. People want giant bedrooms, and they don't want giant bedrooms.
So how did these new units differ from the existing ones?
I think they have a little bit more modern touches. Most people today, they used to walk in and want that big, wide open atrium. Now they don't. Too hard to change light bulbs and clean. I'm not good at this, and we have professionals and architectural professionals. We're working with Union Studio there. Another great. We have so many strong architects in Providence and design professionals. They're also working with us in Newport, so we're happy to be working with Union.
Got a lot going, and as I said, when I saw you at Slater Mill, wanted to just get a little bit more about, are we going to see something at Division Street there in Pawtucket, and to pick your brain a little bit about the Pawtucket Red Sox.
Well, listen. The Red Sox, root for them. I think opening day was yesterday. Paw Sox maybe next week. But I think the opening day of the ballpark discussion started on Monday.
The official.
And there's probably, to be trite, probably many innings to play in that. But I think the opportunity, and we're happy to be part of it as an adjacent neighbor, the opportunity to have to do a thoughtful decision-making process and policy direction exists because the tenor that the city is taking and the tenor that the team is taking. And I'm confident that's the tenor the state will take. So we think Division Street just got a whole lot better because of that discussion. And we're waiting for Go Locals headquarters.
World headquarters.
World headquarters. It's gonna, it's gonna.
Wait for Go Local Prop. How can we be in Pawtucket?
Okay. Well, we just had to change the title. I mean, you have to move to the cooler city.
I don't know. I think the studio is pretty cool right here. It's where all the magic happens.
It's a terrific place, and I do read you guys every morning. It's great, and the live edition is really cool.
Well, we try to bring the news right to the people, real time.
Well, I look like you found me on the street with my 2 weeks of beard, so I apologize.
I warned you. I didn't just drag you.
I didn't worry, but I know I'm only 2 weeks in, so I was unwilling to shave.
Do they call that the architectural mogul, developer mogul?
This is my 50-year-old weak attempt to be a hipster. So you might say failed attempt. So
quasi hipster. Okay.
So when
if
there's comment section, please don't comment on the beard. I agree, it's terrible.
Well, I know when Josh goes on in the arena, I know that former mayor, Joseph Palino, has been known to comment on his lack of shaving from time to time.
But he actually can pull it off. He's that much better.
Maybe the two of you should have done the show. Would have been
Scruff and Scruff.
Scruff and Scruffy. Colin Kane, I do appreciate your coming in
Kate,
today.
always a privilege. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming into the studio. We'll talk soon.
I look forward to it.
Keep tabs on other projects. I'm sure we'll have you back.
Indeed. Thanks so much. Take care.
Colin Kane.
Bye now.
Colin Kane with Peregrine Group. We had the opportunity to actually talk at Slater Mill this week. Mayor Don Graby and Pawtucket brought together a number of stakeholders around development issues in Pawtucket, specifically downtown. Now, Colin Kane and his Peregrine Group have been looking at Division Street, right on the water there, been looking to put a project forward, talking about the funding gap to make it work, also talking about the potential for the Pawtucket Red Sox to move from their location at McCoy Stadium to someplace closer to the waterfront. Lots going on there that we'll be continuing to cover closely here at Go